Jeez, that's ugly.
Gone. 10 minutes in the bin.
That is ugly.
Joshy, I guess we're just going to kick this off. Welcome to the very first episode of The Art of Grubbery. The Art of Grubbery, it's taken a long time. We've got Josh Moose Maguire, Simon Mallory here with you. And two of the oddest pairings, I'd say, Josh.
I definitely think so, mate. Been a bit of an odd meeting, us two, way back in my time coming back to PBR, but who would have thought? Here we are now, and The Art of Grubbery. It's kind of brought us together, I think, Grubbery a little bit in a way, and our fond memories of different grubs.
Of grubs, yeah. Look, I mean, you are a legend of the NRL scene. You're a legend of... You've ticked every box. You've played all the levels that you can. NRL, through to Queensland, through to Australia, even went over to England and stuck it to them for a bit. And I've done nothing.
I wouldn't say nothing. Couldn't say nothing, Simon. You were a grub in your own right, mate. And obviously we'll touch on this later. But you were probably the ultimate grub on the screen, which we could probably touch on a little bit further. But, mate, being a pedophile on a TV show named The Neighbours is pretty high up there on my list of grubbery acts. So
Yeah. Okay, we'll have to go into that in a bit. Yes, I started my acting career. I was a pedophile on Neighbours. I can't hide from that. But it's Neighbours, right? So it's very PC, so it suited me as someone who's not a grub by nature. I was easy to sort of...
prey upon the young.
Exactly. All right, you touched on it. We met, we've spent some time together on the road, and we thought, you know what? Let's get into... Like, I love footy. I love my footy. You obviously love footy. And we realised that there's a form out there. There's a way of playing the game, being a grub. Yeah. But it seemed to have gotten lost.
I definitely think so. I think we touched on it on our many car trips down to Sydney and north through the border. We've done hours and hours on the road. We've had the opportunity to go over this. And I think it's an opportunity that, one, to highlight grubs, whether it's in a good light or in a bad light. We do have our place in the game, I still think. But obviously there's forms of grubbery. You know, there's obviously the mental warfare of words and how we can use that. And then there's obviously the physical warfare of being a grub in the game and the niggle and just the general brutality of being a grub as well. I was probably fortunate enough to venture in all three categories. I did test my finger in the categories and I enjoyed my time there.
Hey, you mean finger in?
Yeah, well, I was never...
Not a Hopewadi.
I was never in the Hopewadi category.
Yeah.
I was fingers and eyes, but they were always never classed as eye gougers, just to say they were contrary conducts. But yes, mate, like... I think it is a dying art. We are dinosaurs, so to speak. I think obviously the nitty gritty of grubbery is still there in today's game a little bit. Obviously, people aren't held accountable for their actions as much now being a grub, I think, for me. My biggest thing was I'll be a grub, but I'm happy to throw hands as well and have a fight as well. So you knew where I stood. You knew I was happy to be at all forms of it, and I did it because I wasn't afraid to do it. Where today's game, you probably can get away with it a bit more.
100%. The pest.
Yes. Yeah, the pest is still here. We've got the Reed Mahoneys, Jerome Luais, the little fella. The little fella's still in the game. And I love it. I actually love it because there's forms of where you need to rise above it. But obviously, there's also guys who they don't pest because
they know.
They know.
Yeah.
You know who's about it and who's not about it. And mate, and for me, I would pester everyone. But I knew I was willing to go to the ultimate extreme. But two, I also knew who I preyed upon too, and I knew there was guys that. You know, there's an opportunity here where we might punch on, and there's an opportunity here where this is going to be an ongoing feud for a long time for what I did or said. Or there's other guys that just knew it was a part of football, and they just let it go. So it is definitely there's a foundation of it, I guess, and a kind of a wheel of how you go about it. But we definitely learn your place in the team and where it stands, and if used correctly, you can have the ultimate result.
Well, because I grew up in far north Queensland, right? We had grubs everywhere.
Yeah.
So I was around it. That's why I was never good at football.
Yeah.
I learned early on that I can't throw hands, so I got to back out. But it was something that happened on the field. Like, I love cricket.
Yeah.
I love sledging.
Yeah.
I love the concept of mental warfare like you talk about. And the respect which I think we saw in the generations before you and I, and going through, that we saw this respect of it's going to happen on the field, and that's where it's going to stay, and it's going to stop.
I definitely think, like, for sure, everything I ever did was pointed on the field, and when I crossed that white line, for me there was no boundaries, there was no limits. The only limit was to win, and I was willing to do, say, or twist or turn, squeeze or pull, whatever was needed to get my result. And that was the biggest thing for me, but it was never personal. And even though I said things that were personal, and probably you would take them personally, but I wasn't saying them from a place of hate. I was saying from a place for a reaction.
For win. Well, I mean, we're going to go into this. We're going to go into all of this we're going to meet the Grubs, you know, these iconic people that we know, because just even talking with you now, and this is what I've always loved, is we're learning about that. We're learning about, like, fuck, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean to be insulting. Like, yes, actually, looking at it now in the light of day, it was a really mean thing to say about your mum.
It was a dick move. It was a dick move. And, mate, like, if I could... I don't regret anything because I've had the career I've had, but if I could do things differently, maybe, and there were probably things I would say differently, because I've been the ultimate dick on the field, don't get me wrong, and I've said the worst of the worst, and I've done things that, you know, would put me in jail in today's game. But in saying that, I got paid hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars to do what I did, and I played for my country and I played for Queensland, so... It gave me what I have.
Mate, I know when you joined the Cowboys, it was awesome because we had a thug. We had a grub on the team, which at that time I went, this is what we need.
Yeah.
New South Wales will hate you. Like, let's not beat around the bush here either. Like, we Queenslanders hate so many Blues. Yeah. Yeah. And I know the Blues are going to be hating you. But you're still not afraid to go to Sydney.
No, I'm pretty lucky, I think, at the moment, I guess. I had long hair, I wear glasses now before, so I was inconspicuous there for a little while, Simon. But I think as a game, we appreciate it sometimes. Like, the biggest thing is, for me, is that, like... I wasn't the greatest player, but people remember me because I was a grub. Yeah. You know, like, you're rememberable. You're a person people love to hate. You gave them a villain when there was a time of people. We need our heroes. We need our Reece Walshes and our superstars, but we also need our villains. With every good story, we have a great villain. Batman and the Joker. You know, Superman and Lex Luthor. We need our villains to make any story run. And that was the biggest thing for me. I quickly got given my role. I figured out what I was good at, and that was being a heel. It was being the bad guy. It was a character, a bit like your pedophile character. It is a game, and it's a game of cat and mouse, and it's a game of characters, and you either lean into it or you get spat out. And that was the biggest thing for me, is I was happy to lean into it, to the detriment of myself to a certain extent, because... at some stage, you believe what you are, or you believe the character or who you're being. So that was always, you know, you find your fine line.
I think when I was acting, it was always something I resisted against. I didn't want to be hated. Yeah, I didn't want to be the person that the public went, you're a villain. Yeah, and it really, and I think about Bodyline series. Yeah, Hugo Weaving played the Pommy Captain. Yeah. Now, back then in the 80s, that TV series, it was about Bradman. He was Australia's hero. Yeah. And Hugo said, well, I don't even know. I don't know him personally, so I don't know. But I can only assume he decided to take on the role of the most hated man in history for Australians and went, I'm an Aussie, but I'll play the Pom that everyone's going to hate. Yeah. And he embraced it. And he did it, and he's an exceptional actor. Yeah. And I do think it got in the way of me because I wasn't ready to be hated. Yeah. And like you're saying, when you played footy, you got to be willing that the public, we want them.
You walk down the street and people don't like you.
Yeah, they're going to try
have an opinion of you straight away.
But then they see you turn around and then they go,
they don't say anything to you.
Sorry, Josh didn't mean that.
It's like touching on that story I think we talked about. You were out playing pool in Melbourne and you could see that you're getting attention. And it was for all the wrong reasons because people are still associating you with being a pedophile at the pub, having a few beers, playing pool, like you're this predator. Which is again, people can't cut the reality between the show and which football is a show. It's entertainment. That's what we're there to do.
because I've never had that. That Neighbours was massive.
Yeah.
And this is going back years. It was massive, and it was amongst all of my mates.
It was 6 o'clock to 6:30, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was what I
Prime
watched.
time.
I watched it before I watched Home and Away. It was my childhood was Neighbours.
Yeah, and I was never ready for what that. It was the smallest of roles, so I was really surprised that people recognised me first. That was a weird thing. And like you say, I'm playing pool with mates, and you're getting death stares from across the bar.
Yeah.
Because people did. Even my wife, her friends, when we first started dating, they knew me straight away. And I hadn't done anything. Like
You were with that
I'd been on
guy?
other things. I was a thespian. I did Shakespeare. God damn it! I mean, I did children's theatre. I toured Australia performing to kids.
Yeah.
I'm a kid guy. I've got a blue card.
Of course you are. but that's the
Called
thing.
profiling.
But but that's the thing in today's game. Like even now, people still genuinely think you're what they see. And I get it. You're 80 minutes on a football field. You do and you say the most fucking crudest things, and you're a nasty prick. And I was a nasty person. Like when I played football, like I said, there was no lengths that I wasn't willing to go to win. That was all I cared about.
Okay, well let's go because we want to talk about you first because we're going to go to all these guests. We're going to go dig out the grubs. We're going to get our weeding gloves on and we're going to go find them. But you starting,
pesticides out.
Yeah, get the pesticides.
Well, we'll start off with one of the biggest ones, and we'll work
you
our way through.
You got to be one to know
Well,
one.
exactly. You do, and I know what they've been through.
See, but you
Where are
started
they now?
right. Yeah, you grew up tough.
Yeah.
Tough family, tough life.
Yeah, definitely. I was one of 6 kids. Dad's in the army. We travelled. We went from like Lismore to Wagga to Brisbane. We didn't have a lot of money, so we were a family of 6 boys. I was the oldest, and I wasn't very good at many things. Like I was a naughty kid. I was rough around the edges. I enjoyed fighting. I liked sports. I was big and strong. I was angry. I couldn't read properly. So rugby league was my calling. It was, but it wasn't my first calling. I played other sports, and I didn't play football until I was 14. I played football at 14. 5 years later, I'm playing NRL. Yeah. So I have 5 years as my window from not playing a single game of rugby league, starting off as a winger, and my whole identity was from the first coach: anybody that touches the ball, kill them. And anytime you have the ball, put it across that line. And that was all I knew, and that's all I did. And by kill him, I thought just like literally try and kill someone. I said, I'm taking heads off, I'm fighting, I'm biting, I'm doing all the things that coaches at the time
were like encouraging.
Well, we've got something here.
Yeah.
We've just got to really kind of develop it into what we can do with that, because I always got told, and I've learned this from a young age, coaches always want to have players that have to pull back, not players they want to have to get going. And that was a biggest turning point, biggest trigger point for me as a kid was, I'm going to be the dirtiest, angriest fucker on the field until I was told not to. Until I was told that, okay, maybe we need to, reposition where you go with this. But for years and years, I was a hot head, and I was just very bad around the edges. And it wasn't until I got coaches that could kind of help me redirect it and teach me to control it, takes time.
My kid is into footy and loves it. And I'm going through this weird thing at the moment where I can see he doesn't have aggression in him. And then I see another kid on the opposite field that all the kids, even the kids playing with that kid, are terrified of him. And he has that in them. And they've already lost the game. Like I'm sitting there running water and they're shitting their pants because there's an absolute tyrant running the ball at them and staring at them, making, I'm going to cut your throat.
Well, it's like when you're young, it's your only way to express yourself. And whether it comes from childhood traumas or like from life experiences, whether it's one like poor parenting, just bad like education, frustration, ADD. There's a million reasons why a kid could be that way, but it comes from somewhere. I think it's like anything. You're either born with aggression or you're born without it, but you're triggered. Something triggers you to be aggressive towards others or to get off on that nasty streak of one inflicting pain or torturing is in like torturing.
No, that's
Torturing
is this
one
out
is
of
in like
Grubbery or-
through fear, is like generating that fear. People
Yeah.
get off of that, and whether you want to admit it or not, intimidating players and enforcers of the game. That's what they do.
It's the bully, right?
It's the bully, and sometimes bully. I was in the bully at school. I like to think I like to bully the bullies. I always thought that was my.
The People's Prince.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that, but I just enjoyed conflict. So they were the more likely to have conflict with me than like trying to bully the kids who get bullied. So that was my biggest thing. But yeah, I was a kid and I just needed to learn how to point it properly, and I probably still haven't learned it yet, to be honest, for seeing how my career's gone.
Yeah,
But
well, yeah.
I was very lucky, but the game changed and I didn't want to change, and it is what it is, mate.
Yeah, actually, that's a fair point.
Yeah.
The game changed and you didn't.
It has.
Your style of play
Yeah.
has got you where, above others.
Yeah, for
That-
sure.
Yeah.
was-
But, yeah. I guess, like, talking through the middle years of your career, right? We've just talked about the early stuff.
Yep.
When you get out, in the middle of the year, you've been going to this, because you've told me some stories, which I loved, about your management.
Yep.
And your manager going, hey, Josh, in the room, go over there. There's someone from Kia. Or are we allowed to mention their name yet? They're not a full sponsor yet, so probably
Kia,
can't mention.
no.
Well,
It's open for negotiation.
it's open. But anyway, you'd see a car sponsor
Yep.
or a booze sponsor,
Yep.
and then you'd work the room. But then the public perception of this character that you've
Yeah.
built, then you go, righto, well, am I going to become that person now? And you were
Yep.
saying that sometimes on the field, when life's shit outside, you were like, you know what, stuff it, I am that guy.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think it's rewarding. It's rewarding in a way that you get noticed and you get that attention that, because the biggest thing for football, whether people like it or not, for any successful career, whether it's football or anything, is you have to be memorable. People have to remember you, and you have to have a point of difference. And I quickly realised I'm not the biggest, I'm not the strongest. I was super fit, and I was really angry. So I needed to figure out how to capitalise on that. And it was just being the hardest working, meanest son of a bitch on the field. And that was how I figured out how I was going to have success. And I had success from it. So then, yeah, you kind of probably lean into it a bit more after a while through because social media really hadn't really kicked off early in my career. It's probably just started to get going, like Instagram, like pretty early in my career. So, mate, like for me, like I was a bastard on the field, but you didn't see it as much. Like Facebook maybe just started, and obviously Instagram was coming. But obviously, as my career progressed, and the spotlight and the attention of being this person and Origin, Australia, and doing those things, you really started to notice probably the public perception. And the biggest thing for me was, like, at the start, I didn't care. Like I had my 5 brothers, I was married, and it was all these things, and the people who cared noticed. And then obviously, like you're starting to obviously make some money, but then you're trying to obviously be, your endorsements. I was with ASICS, I was with Ford. So you're working with these brands. So I'm sitting there meeting kids and obviously, hey, how you going? I'm Josh. You feel like you're a good person, but then, mum, you've got like Karen over here who's like going,
come over, get away from
Harry,
him.
like get away. He's a menace. So you're trying to learn where you sit, and then trying to then show people it's just a facade.
Yeah, it's not me. It's not
No,
me.
yeah.
But this tooth comes out, but that's not me.
My teeth come out, but that's because I pulled my own teeth out, not because I've been knocked out. But yeah, it's just like it's an act. It is an act.
But you're right. That reality.
Yeah.
Shit. This is the bet I've made.
Yeah. This is the bet I've made. I've got to sleep in it, and after a while, it can kind of tear away at you. It does, and this is probably what this has been about with me and you. When we want to highlight, there is good and bad, and we are dicks. Like anyone who does a grubby thing, whether it's on the field and in business or anything, and there is reasons behind sometimes, and sometimes you just do stupid shit, and and you're not aware of the consequences at the time, but it doesn't make you a bad person, doesn't make you a good person. And I'm not sitting here looking for any sympathy, and I don't think anybody who comes on the show are looking for sympathy.
No.
But it's a good opportunity to, one, either learn about the people you don't like and have a bit of an insight, or two, just you can reaffirm why you don't fucking like us, you know, which is fine. Yeah. But I think that's the beauty of it, because people get so caught up in this hate and this.
It's Gallon. I
fucking hate this guy. He's a dick, and you know that's why I knew this is why he does this. Blah blah blah. But
see, he didn't give to Ronald McDonald House.
Yeah, I told you.
On McHappy Day, he didn't buy him Macca's.
So, but that was the thing. Like, that's the beautiful thing about this, Simon, is that. We're going to get to highlight a lot of guys, a lot of people, not just in rugby league and other sports. I mean, obviously, if we go through the history of Grubberies, me on the scale of Grubbery, yes, I was a dick, but we can obviously touch on a lot of good things.
Hey, but before we go on to the others, let's, if you would be so kind, let's talk about you personally.
Yep.
What are 3 of the greatest grubby acts that you did?
3 of my greatest Grubbery acts.
I can think of one you told me, which was about an ACL joint.
Okay, yeah. So let's not go into names, because I don't want to probably name the person, and I probably have said this another time. But for me, we're playing Origin. We're playing. Actually, I've said this. I've used this line a fair bit.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing for me was I needed them, the player that I was coming at, to actually consider that this fucking guy has the capability of doing this act. That he is willing to do this to me. And my one of my go-to lines, if it was a winger carrying out of the backfield or if it was an influential player in the middle, was to say, and I would dive at their legs and I would say to them, I'm going to fucking snap your ACL today. There is nothing you can do about it. At some stage tonight, I'm going to ruin your career. So I'm in your head straight away. And some guys are, nah. Yeah. Keep talking, Maguire. But then after a while, whether you watch me or you don't watch me, like, I was thereabouts. I was twisting, I was jumping in. I was willing in my brain, whether it's right or wrong, I was willing to take myself to a place where you had the second guess that this fucking guy's going to do it. He's going to get me. So then now you're thinking about me. Yeah. So that was the biggest thing. You're thinking about me, you're not thinking about your job. And that was what I was looking for. I was looking for you to think. And there was always the guys with the shit hands that would drop it, and I would just be fucking into them. Like, you got shit hands. And I fed off other players. Like, sometimes there was games where I was just playing footy, and then there was a trigger. Somebody would say something who would come to me. But let's go back. We'll go back to, so obviously the ACL.
Yeah, man. But
so,
God, there's so much in that. There's so much in. I love sport. I love psychoanalyzing sport. I love, as an actor, I love diving into character. Yeah. Why would you be like that, and what is it? So then I know what I've got to layer on to myself if I'm going to play that role. Yeah. But that was brilliant. Yeah. That's brilliant, because you are deciding. Because I would have been the guy. I would have been shit scared. Yeah. Just in the corner, just that 5% to take me off my game on the greatest stage that there is, Origin. Yeah. You've
Origin
now got into my ear enough that if there's someone that comes in that third man in, is that Moose? Yeah. Did he just hit me around my Achilles?
Yeah. What's he doing? What's he doing?
So anyway, that's a great example.
Yeah, before the hip drop was even a hip drop, like, it was like people played Storm and that we used to fall on people's legs on purpose all the time. It was a part of the game. Like, and then all of a sudden, like, the crush attack will come in, the chicken wing. Like, Storm are pioneers of the grubbery within the ruck.
Is it Bellamy? Oh,
I don't know. It was a fellow named Dave Donahue who was like wrestle coach, and it was not. They were just nasty pricks. They were nasty pricks with the suit and the ties, but they were articulate. They looked nice. Billy, Coops, Smithy, they were the good-looking private school kids who were dicks on the field. I loved them. Like, I loved playing with them, and I learnt so many lessons of playing with those guys. Willie Chambers, who again was a big fan, who will feature on this show at some stage. But yeah, so the ACL, I mean,
that's one. Yeah,
that was one. I was a sucker for. I was a sucker for the face rub or the elbow on the neck, in the neck or the ear.
It's a grubby act.
It was a grubby act.
Yeah.
The ankle stamping. It was what was.
You say it as if that's a genuine thing that we all as public should know.
Yeah, so I had this bad habit of, again, I'd say I was going to break your leg or I'm going to snap your ankle. And what I'd do is I'd tackle in the tackle. And I got caught for it later in my career. I think it was on Tim Glasby and Tim Manor. And what I'd do is I'd come wheeling out of the tackle, and as I was coming back to get into the line, I'd pretend to jump over them, but I'd jump and land on their ankle while they were laying down playing the ball. So, it's not a lovely action. But again, I'm wheeling this day in their heads, they're thinking this fucking guy is gonna hurt me. He wants to hurt me. And from then you're thinking, what's he doing? Is he going to hurt me? He forgets to play the ball. Probably he's not thinking about his next job. So, I was the fundamentals. You play the ball, I stand on your hand. Anytime anyone's hand is on the floor at the start of the ruck, he gets stood on. I'm pulling your hair, I'm twisting, I'm yanking, and I do my research. It was always, I had a point. I had a pointed of. I knew who I was up against. I knew key players in the other team, and I'd research. I'd find out about their upbringing. I'd find out about, their partner, something they've done on the piss. Mate, I finally tuned my art with Will Chambers and a few other guys. We would research when we're going to Origin camp, and we would sit down with guys who have been in teams with these guys who we're playing against, and I would tell me, who are they? What have they done? What is their partner like? What is this like? Tell me something I can use.
Oh yeah, you knew about Cherry. Even your own teammates, you would turn that back on them in clubland.
Yeah, for sure. No one was safe. There was no such thing. We are at war. Winning is the only result. There is no, and I know it sounds weird, but I'd walk off the field hey, how you going, man? How you going? I've had mates who go, you fucking dick. Why would you do that to me? I'm your friend. And I was like, yeah, we're friends, but we're fucking playing football, and I need to win. I hate losing more than I like winning. That was probably my biggest thing. So that's where I got to.
That's a shirt right there. That's a slogan.
That was what we should get a shirt.
We will.
I'll get it. I hate winning. I hate losing more than I like winning. And that was
my wife should have that shirt, actually.
Oh, my wife.
But that is, mate, that is bang on point because it is that. But this is what the fans, I think this is what the fans of footy are about. We all have played competitive sport or contact sport. Some of us have realised we're not cut out for it.
Yep.
I.e. me. And I don't have what it takes to go that next distance.
Yeah.
And then we pay you, not we, the NRL pays you.
Yeah.
But I pay the NRL my subscription and I pay my jersey and my membership and I bloody damn well want to sit on the sidelines and give the touchy a spray, you a spray and the ball kid a spray.
Yeah.
But I'm invested. So I want my players and my team having that same investment and that same mentality.
I think it's lost a little bit, and some people will say it's not in the spirit of the game, and which is true. In some aspects, it isn't in the spirit of the game. If you are playing under 10s Div 2 and my son's playing, you'd meet my little boy and you would never think he's
come from an ox
from me because. Hey, mate, my son is a beautifully spoken, well-educated young man that I want just to really inspire him to be, just play within the fabric of the game, love the game of rugby, and that's what it's about for those kids. But when you're playing at the very top and you are at the tip of the spear with the elite of the elite, what's my 1%? What's the difference between you and me? And are you willing to go as far as I'm willing to go? And that was the biggest thing. My mind, when I went out there, was I am going to scratch, bite, claw for every inch I need. And I'm going to do whatever it takes, say whatever it takes to do that.
But I've become the hammer, so I can run away from people like you.
Well, the hammers, Well, see, guys like that don't have to.
Nah.
They do it with their actions. And I wasn't gifted with like
Speed.
Hamaso's speed or,
Silky
Reece
hands.
Walsh's beautiful footwork.
Beautiful nails.
I was a fat, chubby white kid that could run for a long time and would say nasty shit. That was me. That was it. I was a super fit, small forward, and that was my game.
But you put an art form into it.
Yeah.
You just talked about how tactically you would pretend to jump.
Yeah.
So this is probably where you'd be a great actor too.
Yeah, I
reckon.
probably could.
Yeah. But you said about the judiciary, you used to. When you go to the judiciary?
Yeah, I've never
how do you
won a
present
judiciary.
your case?
So,
What do you do?
so I had used the argument that I was blind in one eye probably a few too many times, and there was actually.
But hang on, actually, let's talk about that. You were sitting there after a game at a pub, and you had eye juice running out.
Yeah, I was at the GPO of all pubs. Got my eye fingered in by my own teammate.
Did he pay for you?
No, he didn't. He didn't even buy me a drink. But yeah, mate. So at the pub, my eye ruptured. I was like, geez, I'm in a bit of Wes Naguamas here, some dramas. So off I go. Call me old man. We go to the hospital. They rush me into surgery. We rebuild the eye, try and put it back together. It doesn't work. It's just there for looks. But yeah, I'm blind in one eye. So again, I was always a chip on my shoulder. I was always, it was me against the world. Fuck everyone. I'm going to do it my way. And yeah, that was how I played at the time. And so... Yeah,
you use it in the judiciary.
I used it a couple of times. I didn't see him. I couldn't know where I was going. Sir, I'm sorry. But after a while, so I was at the Cowboys and something had happened. I think it was a player. We played against a team, and anyway, this player had been found, had been charged or allegedly charged for domestic violence. And I'm a dick on the field, but I don't like that shit. So I made it my mission that game to fucking get this bloke, and I was going to fucking kill him. And I was running around, and he was outside in the outside back, so it was hard to get me fucking hands on him. So I'm running around, and anyway, I found an opportunity to get in and grab him and twist him and stick my hand in his face and elbow him and just give him a mouthful. And anyway, I got charged. Off I go to the judiciary, and I was thinking... I reckon I can get off this. Like, there's not much in it. I just, plead I didn't see him. I put my hand there. And anyway.
And the coach is talking to you? Are you talking to the coach at this point?
So we're talking, me, the coach, and the football manager.
You're suggesting to them.
So I was like, mate, how do we get around this? What do we do? Can I take a fine? Because you can use, now they had that thing where you take the fines. They don't pay for the fines, but... at that time you're on, 700, 800, 900,000. So you're like, fuck, what's a couple of grand? Please. I wouldn't want that money now.
No, I was going to say.
A couple of grand would be nice.
I'm going to get a parking ticket.
Yeah, Ryan Madison takes a couple of weeks. But, mate, so anyway, we go to the judiciary and we plead our case. And I'm thinking, fuck, we're pretty good here. And Peter Parr, the football manager, goes, mate, I reckon it takes about half an hour. They deliberate, they go over it, and then they come back and they charge her. So I'm like, righto, can I go do a piss? And he's like, sweet. As I get up, they go, all right, we'll come to the judiciary. I was like, we're right here. And they just come out, Maguire, guilty, and just gone. I was like, fuck, this was a waste of time. Like, what are we doing here? So, mate, that was pretty much every judiciary I went to. So I never... After a while, I just stopped fucking fighting. I was just fuck, I've been done here. So I'm the most suspended player in NRL history, I think.
Are you?
I'm up there. I'm definitely number one. I was number one at one stage. Maybe Jared Hargraves is taking me over now. But at one stage, I think 2022 or 2023, they released an article and it said the worst ever. And it was just like, I think it was like 40 charges or something like that. Yeah, mate, it wasn't good reading, to be honest.
Lucky you only had the one eye.
No, I just got halfway. I can't read anyway. So I was like, oh, this is good.
But, shit, Mate,
but that was it. Like, so you just stop fighting.
Yeah,
After a while, you're like, you got me.
But you touched on it. The guy was a grub off the field.
Yeah, but that was it.
And
that was the thing. That's what pissed me off. It was like, for all the things I've done on the field, by all means, hate me all you like, but I've never, ever once done... The worst thing I ever did off the field, I've ever been in trouble for off the field, was go to fucking barbecue during COVID. And we all know now...
You're one of them.
I was a barbecue gay guy. I mean, it was my second week there. I got invited to the team barbecue. Of course I'm going to go. I don't know fucking anyone. I want to go have a beer and meet my team. So I've just kind of waddled down, going to Vorney's for a barbecue and a few beers, and all of a sudden we got SWAT like after us, thinking we're like about the contagious the world, like
Was
it's
this in-
World War Z. We're in Dragons, so we had the win.
Yes.
We had a win, and we beat the Warriors. And fucking you, beauty, we're on the bus and having a beer. We're all together. Anyway, we can't go out. It's COVID, so it's fucking Debbie Downer. So we go home and go to bed, and then Vorney lives down the road, probably 500 metres, and I get a text at lunchtime, hey, mate, like the footy's on. You know, I know it's probably not a good idea, but do you want to come down and have a beer, watch the footy? So I've fucking waddled on down with me 6-pack of beer, and all of a sudden, like a few of the other boys are here. So I was like, fucking, this is all right. We're keeping it quiet.
You were further than 1.5. You were keeping your distance, right?
Yeah. Well,
Vorney had markings on the floor.
Yeah, he looked at
like Woolworths.
But that was the thing. Like we would just spend all day, every day to each other, but we can't go to each other's houses. Like
You've been licking each other's sweat in the
mate,
tackle.
literally nose and assholes, and now we can't share a beer together. But the poor boy gets sacked. He gets sacked a $50,000 fine, and I get it, the whole world's closed down. But that was my worst, and just goes off the field. I went to a barbecue. So then I see.
Forget about that, hey.
Mate, well, now look at us. He should get his money back.
Yeah,
Well, what do you
I reckon he should.
But like,
That is legit. We should start a GoFundMe for him.
Get Vorney his money back.
Get Vorney.
Get free Vorney.
His money. Like, I did the right thing, but I know a lot of the country folk out there
Hey, look, the other
that
teams
chose
are
to
all
not
doing
get.
it. The other team are all doing it. They locked us in.
Do you reckon Dragons fans would get behind him?
Oh, maybe.
I don't know. Do you
But
know?
mate, it's just that was like it was a weird time of the world, wasn't it?
I forgot about that.
But
you're right. Anyway, look, we digress because you were talking about the grub off the field.
Yes, yeah.
Now, you said to me too that there was a lot of off the field grubbery going on with old stalwarts, like custodians of clubs and shit, eh?
Well, that was the biggest thing. Like we all think about grubbery as in what you see on the football field, and by all means it is all right, but there's so many elements to being a grub, and like there's good and bad. For me, for me, when you go, oh, he's a grub on the field, like it's like meh. You know, like, yeah, you know, he's a bit of a grubby player, blah, blah, blah. But then there's another thing of when you say someone goes, you know, he's a bit of a slime ball, that bloke, or he's a grub, you know, don't trust him. And that was like the difference for me was I didn't mind being a grub on the field, but off the field, you always want to be a good teammate and that kind of stuff. And the thing is, you got to remember in NRL or in any workplace, when there's older and younger, experienced and inexperienced people, for me, I saw it from the bottom to the top, and I experienced it being the young guy. Is how people can influence young people and be that grub, so to speak. So I was very lucky. I had a lot of good older players that looked after me, but I also come across some players that weren't good for me as a person or good for me off the field, so to speak. And they would influence because they knew that I was a guy who, one, could take your position, or two, like you got to remember in football, yes, we're all friends, but how well you go is what I can get out of my pie. You know, there's a pie here. And
There's only so many slices.
there's only so many slices. And half the pie is for Lockyer when I first come for it, and the rest of us have to fit into the rest of it. So then there's like those older guys who would be like, you know, because we're young, and I was very impressionable as a young fella. I loved the beer and having fun. That would go, you'd be like, oh, what are we going to do? And the older boys would be like, some of the older guys who I won't name at different places would be like, mate, why don't you go out and have a beer? Go have a good time, you know, you play good. Go have fun. You earn it, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, the older boys are saying it's all right, so off you go and be a dick and carry on. And then you come to training and all of a sudden coach knows, and you could just knew that there was a manipulation within the game or within the team because you were a guy that was taking his spot. You were eating into his minutes. Yeah, so there was a way of like kind of snaking you out of it. And that's what I would class as, you know, that's a grubby act.
Grubs.
That's a real grubby act. So you got to remember, whether a young guy or an older guy comes into a team, we're all at different stages in our career. There's a stage where you're insecure. So you come out, you're very scared, you just want to be there. Then you get to the next stage where you've kind of made a name for yourself, but you're not safe. and there's this young guy keeping your heels at you. And then there's that stage where if you're lucky enough, you get it to where you're like a very established custodian. You're comfortable in your spot. I was really lucky when I come into Origin. I had Nate Miles, who was just a lovely guy. It really took me under his wing because he knew I wasn't a threat to him. He knew that at some stage he was going to move on, and that I would be the guy that took over. But he wasn't
threatened.
He wasn't threatened. So he showed me the rules and he showed me the path. And then those guys who are like that, who inspire you to be the next guy for it. So then when I was coming through and I played Origin, I played for Australia or played at Cowboys, when I come through the Cowboys, when I first got to the Broncos and I ended up leaving the Broncos, Paddy Carrigan, Tommy Flegler, Payne Haas, these were young guys coming in and I was happy to obviously, one, you're hard on them early because they need to find their place, but two, you want to instill a little bit of confidence in them. You show them some love. But then I moved on from there and went to the Cowboys, and then again, like I was very well established, playing for Australia and Queensland still. And then they had the Reuben Cotters and Thomas Gilberts. So at some stage, I knew that was the progression. These guys are coming. But I was never intimidated by it. I welcomed the challenge. One, it drove me to be better. And then at some stage, it's like our dads. We become bigger and stronger than our fathers. That's the fact.
Yeah.
It is what it is. And you want to be proud of the guy that you've obviously brought through them.
You also want to be that role model that you said about Nate. Like, because when you're playing, I heard this about Mel Meninga.
Yeah.
Apparently people said that when he stood up in the sheds and walked out, you just grew a foot because Big Mel was carrying you out into that paddock.
Yeah.
So you needed some blokes around you that you in your own right were going to be, you know, an enforcer and you're going to help. But in having that bloke on the team who goes, get behind me, lads, let's go. Yeah. I mean, that's... Old Shakespeare talks about that, the great speeches of Henry V. It's been there in society forever.
I think that was the biggest thing with like Cameron Smith gets always called a grub as well.
New South Wales do, don't they?
Always say, but for Smithy, he could hold a room and with his sight, his eyesight. Lockie was a similar guy, but the way, like you talk to Jonathan Thurston and he was one of the most skillful players you've ever seen, but Jono was really emotional. So you'd really switch into that. But with Smithy, it was a real pointed, direct questioning of your character. You're going to come with me, like I'm going to lead the way and you're going to follow me kind of talks. And that was like something I reacted really well to, which is why, you know, like, I don't know, you could call Smithy a grub all you want, but he was a great player.
Yeah.
And he twisted shit. That was a storm. That was what they did. They won. Winning was the result of everything.
I did a search. So, because we're going to call this out, like our top 10s, right? We talked about
We're going to go NRL or we're going to go sport?
I think we need to go, we'll stay with NRL to a degree. Yeah. But we are, on this podcast, The Art of Grubbery. Yep. I don't believe any sport should be left unturned.
No,
as a stone. No. Like you know it. You know from a grub. You can analyse whether they're pests.
I can smell a grub out.
You can smell a grub. So there's a lot of them out there, and especially I want to know about the women grubs. Yeah, because we're talking about competitive sport, and that's what drives the grub to the top. Yeah, like that's where they stick their head out. Yep. But where are we going with this? Oh yeah, I jumped online. I was like, all right, I know what my grubs are, but what are people saying? Yeah. There's so many Queensland. Like I'm a proud Queenslander, but geez, the Blues hated.
Yeah, we're hated.
But seeing Cam Smith, seeing Billy Slater, like like the wool got taken off my eyes. I was like, what? How could you call these?
Yes, he's an angel. He's like a proud mum. Yeah, you know, like my mum was always like that. My boy would never do that.
Bloody the Blues hated them.
Well, it's hard because, like, again, you get away with a lot more when you're winning. You know, it's accepted. They had that dominance. Storm had the dominance. So, you know, like Greg Bird and Gow were highlighted so much more because when you're in a losing team, you're being a grub, you just look like a bad sport. Yeah. But then when you're in a winning team, you're doing it's like, oh, he's competitive, he tries hard. Yeah. Slater's flying in with his feet, kicking people,
kicking
kicking Clemmer, fly kicking Clemmer. But that was just. it was accepted because you're winning, and winners win, and that's what they do. And like I said that saying, winners have parties, losers have meetings, and I still fucking haven't lost that. Every time if I lose at home, my son says, "How's your meeting, Dad?" So I'm just copying it left, right, and centre.
Winners have parties, losers have meetings.
And that was just
That's on the other shirt. Is that on the back?
Yeah, that would be on the back.
What do you remember what the front said?
Yeah.
About I hate losing.
I hate losing more than I like winning.
And then on the back, winners
have parties, losers have meetings.
Right.
And I have not lived that. It's TikTok, not TikTok. Twitter, I still get smashed by Twitter for that. I have like the old Joe Blow. The same people still come at me.
Well, we're going to try. We're going to obviously you know all these blokes, so we're going to get them on the show. We're going to talk to them. We're going to know more about them because Backdoor, Benny Elias, you know, these guys, and because I was a kid growing up watching.
Yeah.
The NRL scene, and obviously I'm skewed to go, you know, seeing that Josh Reynolds, I mean, his nickname was the Grub.
Yeah.
Seeing Ennis, Michael Ennis.
Ennis the Menace.
But I love his commentary now.
Yeah, mate,
he's a perfect example of someone I reckon is exactly like you. When I don't know Ennis, but just hearing him now, watching his commentary, watching what he does on Channel 9 and on Fox and all of that.
Yeah.
And then, but when he was as a player,
Yeah.
I reckon he was that same dude. Did you play with him?
I played against him plenty of times. He was a little fucker on the field. But I respected him. I respected what he brought, like, which was, again, most of them are hardworking, you know, like really astute students of the game. Like some of them we're reactive. Some of us are reactive, but some of them are very articulate and methodical with the way they want to present and how they do it. And there's guys in the game you wouldn't think of that are grubs, like that have got away with things for a long time. But then when you play against him, like, fuck, he's a dirty little prick, you know.
Any you can think?
Well, Billy Slater, I love Slater to death, but mate, he was an angry little man that just was always at you when you played against you. And I like Billy's, my opinion, the greatest fullback of all time, and I have nothing but respect for him. But he was a prick of a bloke on the field.
Oh, well, we're going to have to get him.
Yeah, we'll have to talk to Bill.
He's going to have to defend his honour.
I remember, like, Cooper Cronk, again, Coops was a real gentleman, probably compared to the crew that he was in, but they were quietly arrogant about and smug about how good they were. And I love Coops as well. And like, I remember playing a game. I'm playing for Australia and I'm playing half, but I played hooker. Smithy's come off, and we're playing against France. Anyway, all this is probably off topic, but
this is good.
All week I've been wanting to kick the ball in play, so. I'm mucking around at training and pretending to get out at hooker at the 40-metre line and pop it down into the right corner and kick a 40-20. I'm like, fuck, how good would that be? Like, I'm going to kick a 40-20 for Australia. So we play France, so I start at lock. Smithy never fucking misses a game, so all the bench hookers don't play because we don't need a bench hooker, and I could cover hooker at the time. So Smithy comes off at hooker, and Mao goes, moves to hooker, and I'm like, fucking you beauty. This is my chance to kick. And
forget the game plan.
We're up by 50, so I'm like, there's no rules now. Like, I'm like, in my head, I'm fucking kicking this ball. So anyway, we get an exit set and we're rolling, and we're fucking rolling pretty good. So I'm like, we're playing France, we're up by 50. So we roll past the 40 all the time. I think it's play 4. I fucking just have the bright idea. I'm going to jump out at hooker, roll to my right, and put a beautiful kick down to the right corner.
You're right-footed.
Right-footed. So to come out to the right, fucking kick this ball, shank it, hook it to the middle, fullback catches it on the full about the 30-metre line, and all I can hear, this is no word of a lie, is from Coop scowling out, Moose, you fat C-U-N-T. what the fuck are you doing? And I'm like, looking around going, fuck. And Coops is fucking into me. He goes, the next time I take a fucking hit up off the kickoff, you can kick the ball, you cunt. And I'm like, sorry, Coops, come on, mate, we're at my 50. Because he's this ultimate competitor, and I've fucked this kick up. He's like, I don't give a fuck if we're up by 100. You don't kick that fucking ball. And I can see on the sideline, Smithy's losing it. And he's laughing, and I'm like, fuck. Anyway, the game finishes, and it's nothing's personal, and I love Coops. And he's laughing. We're laughing after it.
Yeah.
But that's
them.
the shit. That's, mate, they're fucking winners. They're winners. And whether you're up by 50 against France or you're down by 50, you're
Does not
perfection
matter.
to the T. And like, but that's what they are. Like, whether you're your friends or you're not friends, he's gonna fucking eat your ass until you do what he tells you to do. And that's what I loved about when you're in those big teams. And I'm like Dory. Like, I fucking forget in 10 seconds. Like,
Yeah.
it wouldn't be anything. I might do it again. You know? Like,
So he's
fucking go again.
they were watching you every time you
Yeah,
jumped
don't you
out.
fucking kick that ball. And I'm like thinking I'm fucking skillful as playing hooker for Australia. I'm fucking just as many Australian caps as fucking Robbie Farah at hooker, thank you. No. But mate, that was it. Like, that was what made these guys so good, and like they're just articulate in the way that they go about it. They're still grubs, and I love them. But you know, they were guys who you don't know that are grubs within. Just people say, oh, that's a grubby thing or whatever, or you know. But you know, at the end of the day, no one gives a fuck if you're a grub if you win.
So, Cooper Crong, are you saying that if there was if there was only 2 loaves of bread left on the shelf, he would take both of them and not let the old lady get one?
Keats would probably be a bit more forthcoming and look after it. Willie Chambers would eat both of them in front of her. He's a fucker. But you know, I think if he had to eat both loaves to win the game of football, he fucking would. You know, like, it didn't matter for those guys; they were going to win football games.
We so NBA. I know there's a lot of Draymond. You know,
Draymond Green.
Yeah.
Yes.
A lot of heat
good.
on this guy.
He kicks people in the dicks. He's twisting stuff. He hurts it. But again, he's a fucking winner. He played for the Golden State Warriors. He's gone on to do great things. And that was his role within the team. People thought Dennis Rodman was a grub. You know, he was named as a grub. There's a guy who played NHL who I think we should touch on later on. He was Wayne Gretzky's bodyguard. His name is Martin McSorley. Everywhere Wayne Gretzky was the best player in the world in NHL. Like, he was the Cameron Smith of NHL. Everywhere he went, but it was like every time you brought a Ferrari, you brought the insurance, which was Martin McSorley. He was the hitman that protected it.
Yeah.
And one day, I think it was McDaniels. They were playing a team, or Daniels or somebody. Martin McSorley's just had a brain snap and has just completely slashed this bloke in the face, who was the best player on the other team, and broke his face. It was horrendous, but his role was just to go out there and maim people. And at the game, again, just catches up to you. And he's a guy that we'll get some footage and we'll touch on that stuff later.
Because that's it's assault, right?
Yeah, it is.
You're going to jail.
You're going to jail. Well, that's the thing. Do you go to jail? But if I have a fight, if there's a football player on the field now and we have a punch on and I punch you, is that assault? Is it just
I say no, it's not. I wouldn't charge you. I think
you wouldn't, but
but
people can.
No,
Les Boyd was charged by Darryl Broman for the elbow. That happened in the game. That was illegal. He got charged. He tried to sue him.
Outside of the game.
But
are you? Well, hang on, because then we're going to go into territory. If I pick you up and spear you into the ground and
that's a malicious act,
and I make you a paraplegic.
But again, but it's a part of the game. Things happen and accidents happen. You go onto the field knowing there's actions and consequences.
You know what? I'm going to probably this is a problem with me. I sit on the fence a lot sometimes, and I need to make a decision. But if you and I are going to punch on, I think fine, because it's gotten to this level.
What if I break your jaw?
Yeah,
and
I think
can't play for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I think I've bought in on that.
What if I kick you on the ground?
Yeah, I think I bought into that. But if you pick me up
Yeah.
and spear me into the turf.
Yeah, and break your neck.
And break my neck, or if you do something that is actually
Malicious.
but then I guess fighting is outside of the rules of the game
It's not
too.
in the game.
It's not in the game.
So that's the fine line we've walked down, and that's why obviously a lot of the Grubbery acts are out because of probably legal ramifications, CTE, the high shots.
I mean, you're right. These are outside of the law of
Yeah.
the game. This is not the game.
We're talking about just human rights.
If you rupture my spleen when you tackle me in a crunching tackle, then
well, I think we signed. That's all part
That's
of code
fine.
of conduct, and like we signed those codes of conduct.
you
and
do.
different actions.
So the ref on the weekend. I mean, it's people might be listening to this at the time, but it's the
Bulldogs Parramatta game.
yeah.
Josh Curran.
Yeah. Calls it
They call it not in the
and not in the spirit of the game.
Well, what's the spirit of the game? Who are you to decide what the spirit of the game is?
That was
as
a fair
referee?
sledge.
But he called him off. Like
called him off.
I remember calling everyone off. Like if we're playing against Joe Offengowie, I was Offengowie, you're off.
But the way the game has come into it with all the cameras on us and all the on us because we got cameras on here,
Yeah.
we're filming it.
We do.
Yeah, but the cameras on the scrutiny, the level of scrutiny, and the post match reviews, and this bunker, and every fan, every person, the keyboard warriors with our socials. We can all have a say now to another level. So that's probably what they're talking about is that you've called him off.
Yep.
Maybe it's wagering too because he calls himself out of it. They score. That blows my multi.
Yep.
I'm furious. I'm calling for blood because I'm like, he can't do that.
But you can. That's why I get that's what I mean. Like
Yeah.
football's not black and white. We want it to be black and white as much as possible, but it's grey. It's so much grey. And like by all means, sweet. If you want to penalise that, but fucking penalise everyone for that.
Yeah.
In
All
the
the
spirit of
time.
the game. Pushing somebody after you win, score is not the spirit of the game.
That happens.
Pushing somebody on the ground is not the spirit of the game.
Try July celebrations.
Yeah, like squirting water on people isn't in the spirit of the game. So
But
where
this
do
is
we
what
draw the
like.
line?
I know,
Where do
but
we fucking draw the line?
I think we miss it into a degree.
Well, that's what we want. We want entertainment. We want brutality.
Yeah, and I don't need a fast game.
People want to see gladiators that go to war and inflict damage. That's what we want. We worked in the PBR. People don't give a fuck about the 8 seconds. They give a fuck about the rider who just got mutilated by the bull.
Yeah.
That's what they walk away from.
Yeah, the 70-kilo guy on an 800-kilo
Exactly,
beast.
but people want to see brutality. And whether we want to admit it or not, we want to see the grubs, we want to see the hits, we want to see the conflict. We're attracted to conflict. We're attracted to negative things. So if you look at any kind of newspaper or any kind of news article, it's all negative. We always click on the negative. We don't care who does good half the time. We want to see what's the bad. What happened?
Yeah.
Someone's happened. What's done? What did he say?
Yeah.
I remember one year I was sledging Fergie at the Origin. It was like pretty bad. I'm not going to go into it. But
well, you might have
the
to.
the most clicked. It was the most
F3.
clicked article on Fox Sports for the whole year. People trying to find out what I said to Blake Ferguson.
Really?
It was the most clicked article by far on Fox Sports.
All right. Okay, hang on. If that's true,
Yep.
then I think episode 6 or 7,
Yeah, we'll go into it.
we're going to have to.
We have to. I'll go into it to a certain degree.
Well, we'll find out a point. Yeah, but
to
this
a
is the
certain
most
degree.
clicked thing that no
But
one got to hear.
but we'll be able to use. I'll be able to give you a backstory, so to speak.
Yeah.
I guess maybe. But it was horrible, and I admit I said horrible things. But it was.
I'm not making light of this either, but it's hilarious.
Mate, but it was on the field.
It's macabre.
Yeah.
But have you spoken to Fergie?
Probably. Oh, we've seen each other at different things. It's just footy, and
He's of that ilk. He's of the same as
Fergie,
you. Like,
you know Fergie. Fergie's like me. He's like Dory. He'll forget within the next thing.
he's
But-
of that same cut.
Yeah, but he was a winner too. You know,
Yeah.
you say and do shit to fucking really set people off, and I set him off. Just like Big Clemmer and Gow, Woodsy, all of the guys.
Well, we see so much footage of Wally Lewis back in the day.
Wally was just fucking into people, and Mark Geyer. Like it's just there's through the history of rugby league and sport, they're fucking everywhere. And
Well-
the difference is like who was good at it and who was bad at it.
Well,
who
'cause
could control it.
we know AFL is
Yeah.
riddled with it too.
Yeah.
And I think that's why the AFL did clean it up.
Yeah.
It's why I never played it much. Because if ever I got in a fight, my nearest guy was about 3 kilometres away. Whereas in footy, he was
you're
standing right
there.
beside me.
Yeah, I know.
But so the AFL, they had some big grubs back in their day.
Well, even like traditionally at the moment, there's like that Toby Green at Greater Western. He's a kind of the niggly, dirty kind of guy on the field, which is a really, really good player. But and then like we go down that degree of grubs too, Simon, where there's on the field and there's off the field grubbery. You know, Wayne Carey, do we say it? You know, and that's a whole nother
But
level.
if you're going to do that, you got to marry him.
Oh, well, mate, yeah, you got to settle down. But mate, that's like we look at all the levels, and and that would be our biggest analyst is like digesting every week, so to speak, common new things that have happened. Obviously, you know, recent events in rugby league and whatever, but then also opportunities to go deep and digest old events and old characters in the game and getting to talk to them and showcase a little bit where are they now, what are they doing, is there anything they regret?
Can you dig up? We got to dig up like Gomersal, like the grasshopper. Or we got to dig up like
Well, we
old
could
reps.
talk to people who have seen them, have been around them. Obviously, we're not going to be able to just have. We could obviously give the grubs a voice because we need a voice too.
Yeah.
But we also need to hear about coaches who've coached grubs. Oh. You know, some of the coaches, some of the guys like Kevy, you know, Anthony Griffin.
What was Kevy like coaching you?
Kevy was pretty good with me. Like Kevy kind of wound me up and just let me go.
Right.
Kevy was always articulate in the way he wanted me to do things, but he was very open to what I was and what I brought. And the biggest thing for Kevy knew I was willing to do whatever it took to win for him. And that's why I love Kevy.
And that you need
and
those
that's why we
tools
have that
in your
relationship.
Shed, hey?
Yeah. You know, sometimes you need the hammer and then you need the scalpel like the Kalaponga for the surgically articulate thing, which was Kalen and the Reece Walshes and Dailies. And then sometimes you just need the blunt brute force of the hammer, which was myself and Will Chambers and those guys who were just going to knock in the front door and say whatever we wanted to say and just kind of stir up the beehive and see what the fuck happened. And that was the beauty of it.
I can see that on the whiteboard in the sheds.
Yeah.
It's just a beehive.
Yeah, and
with bees
just
flying
us
around.
just shaking the tree, and there was just this fat bear waiting for the repercussions.
But the you and I were talking when we were on the many drives on the road, talking about like grubs and noted, and then we were talking about the ice skating chick, Tonya
Harding.
Yeah.
Well, she was willing to do anything that I could win that girl. She got I think it was a partner to break. The other girl's leg.
They did the film about it.
They did it.
Yeah.
Tonya or something.
Yeah, Tonya, our girl.
Yeah, Margot Robbie. That's it. But that's the thing, like the pressure of her and the grubbery that she was willing to stoop to, and I don't condone it at all.
No.
Because that's not winning. That's cheating. It's
cheating.
Because you're physically taking them out of the game, which in a way I was too. In a way, I was physically going to take you out of the game.
Yeah, but actually you were.
You know, I was willing to. For instance, I remember playing the Cowboys early in my career and used to get away with it. I remember being told, go and I was playing right back row. Jono Thurston was playing left half. And I remember just getting told, fucking kill Jono. Every chance you get, fucking kill Jono. And I remember just killing Jono, like 4 times off the ball. Like he'd pass it and then bang, whiplash, bang, diving at his knees, his hips. Like I'm fucking like 19, 20 years old, 110 kilos, moving fast and just trying to murder Jono. But the coach said go to kill him, 1, and 2, the referee never stopped it until probably the 6th go. He's like, Maguire, next one you're getting the penalty, but by then the damage is done.
Yeah.
But that was like, it was accepted then.
Well, it was, but it is your version on cheating.
Yeah. Well, it is because I'm taking Jono out. So, yes, Tonya Harding is completely in the wrong for breaking the girl's leg, but there is a circumstance, so to speak, of like we aren't much different to that.
Because I know, like I've heard Dylan Alcott speak at a summit, and just him playing his wheelchair basketball for Australia, and he was talking to like I know there's grubs out there in that space too.
Yeah, and he knows that. Like
he'd know tennis. I'd love to know the locker room chats.
Yeah.
Like, who are the grubs on the tour?
Yeah, well, and who's the bullies? Who are behind the scenes
Is it a bully or you're a grub?
Or a grub, exactly. And we're trying to differentiate between that as well. Because there's intimidating people on the court. Like Federer would have this presence of being intimidating and Nadal, but then, you look at Nick Kyrgios to a certain extent who comes across smug or arrogant, but he was so naturally gifted. And is that... Would you call that a grub, or would you just call that confidence?
Yeah,
and that's where we have to differentiate.
Geez, man, I used to do a lot of MC work, like as a struggling actor, or some would say a failed actor. I had to do MC and stuff, and I did a lot with the Nickelodeon, the Australian Open.
Yeah,
and I got to be with Federer.
Yeah,
on the court and Nadal.
Yeah,
and man, I remember seeing Federer turn the corner.
Yeah,
and I'm going to run out into the Rod Laver Arena. I'm going to be like them.
Yeah, he
turns a corner and his headband and this little curl of hair, he looked exactly like Federer.
Yeah,
like to the T.
Yeah,
and then someone said to me, "Well, you're an idiot. He's a commodity. He can't go anywhere unless he looks like Federer."
Yeah, exactly.
That's his brand, and he's on it. Yeah. So they've got to stay true to them. I mean,
well, it's your character.
Yeah,
that's what sells.
It's what sells.
That's what we've all brought into. That's what the endorsements are for. That's what the money is for.
It's what
you put your mask on and you walk out that door into the public's eye. You're that guy.
Actually, we're going to have to hear from the local grub. Because I know growing up, I'm sure out there's a lot of clubhouses where... in Div 4, there's some bad boy Barry running around.
Ashley Devils, open threes.
Yeah.
Well, I want to know who's the biggest grub. What's the biggest grubby act you've ever heard? So probably a good opportunity. Like we get people to follow. If you're the punters, you're out there listening.
We're going to get it set up. They're going to call through.
We'll get you through, and we want to hear your grubby acts. Or yours, or somebody within your team, or what you've seen.
And you don't have to name names.
No names?
No.
It's
the art of grubbery.
It is the art of grubbery. And we can decide whether it's a grub or a bully.
Yep. Or a pest.
Or a pest. And we'll categorise you. And I think at the end of the year, we might be able to present the grub of the year.
I think so.
I think so.
I think we can... Yeah. Oh, mate.
It's open for discussion anyway, isn't it?
Oh, I believe
it'd be great.
So.
And if you have video footage, we'd love to have it as well.
Yeah. I'm not talking about after in the sheds at 2 a.m. grubby acts.
Yeah, we don't want that.
Rubbing DP in your mate's jogs.
No, I want brutality on the field, or pulling hair, or just that real fundamental grubbery category. Or even if you're just some words, just give us the backstory.
So all these Queenslanders, I moved to Melbourne in my pursuit, and I ended up living with a bunch of Queenslanders, and we decided to play contact sport. We were like, right, we're either going to play union or AFL because that's all that exists in Melbourne at the time. We went down to the local union field, and it was full of Kiwis. Yeah. Big Maori boys. We went, all right, let's go play AFL. Yeah. And we went and played AFL. And I remember the first game I ever played, the ball got kicked over my head downfield. I was put on the wing like all people who can't play get put. Yeah. And no offense to any wingers out there that think it's a legitimate sport or position on the AFL field. And the ball gets kicked down. I didn't bother chasing, stopped, turn around, and this elbow from this bloke, who was about 40, big beer gut, threw this ginormous elbow at my head. Yeah. And I'm an actor. My face is my money. So I was like, and I ducked out of the way just in time, and I didn't chase after him because I'm petite. Yeah. And I thought about him going, you have just played, this is your Saturday afternoon. Yeah. We're in Div 4, like real bottom feed. Yeah. And you've just tried to elbow me in the back of the head. Yeah. And for no reason or gain, but just out of the own feeling of those endorphins of the brutality and the cruelty.
It's our natural instinct of
some
just
people to hurt.
Just to be nasty fuckers. And whether you're playing in NRL or playing in Div 4, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it, and we're going to get into it deeper,
into
and it's awesome to...
Yeah, because I also don't want to condone this one punch bullshit.
No,
cowards.
No, that's coward
Cowards.
punch. We're not punching.
We're not going to talk about cowards.
We're talking about pure brutality on the field, the fine line of it, how it's worked, if it's worked in your favour, and then, you know... And people walk over the line sometimes. I get it. I've walked over the line plenty of times, and I paid the ultimate consequences. I got rubbed out of the game eventually. Like, it was just, I wasn't for the game anymore, and the way I played just didn't fit. So I had to call it quits.
Man, I like the fact that there's people like you not around anymore. Yeah, because my kid's going to actually hopefully have
I know.
and enjoy his time.
No, exactly.
And not in a hospital bed. But mate, Josh, where did Moose come from?
I was just an old guy that was a grub in the old Brizzy leagues that was named Moose Maguire. And then an old footy trainer at the Broncos just called me Moose. I used to tell everyone it was because I had a big moose stick, but that's not true.
No, well...
Looks like a thumb.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I saw a giant's thumb. Yeah. It's a bit, it talks to you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It has conversations.
But yeah, mate, that was it. That was just the Moose Maguire, played in the old Valleys League, and I reminded of him, and then it was just kind of stuck, and the Moose has just always been around, and it's always like when you're on the piss and, you know, you play it up and have a bit of fun with the boys. So it's just stuck, mate. And I don't mind it, but it's always been, you know,
Moose Maguire.
Moose Maguire, really. Yeah, that's it.
No, I love it. All right, well, I'm so excited. We've been talking about this forever, I'm just and everyone I'm telling, they're like, yeah, you got to talk about this guy. So, like you said, we're going to hear everyone's stories. We're going to get their feedback, and we're going to crown our grub.
We'll dive into it, and we'll have the art of the grubbery, and it's just an opportunity to give people an opportunity to see them, talk to them, give them a voice as well. Yeah. And then we can really just cut into modern issues as well, modern game grubberies, and where the game's, where it's kind of diversified, I guess, within that game of grubbery, I guess. And it's so exciting as well, because you know the names we have on the list and how exciting, and the people we have coming ahead. We're excited about moving forward.
Some have popped up that I didn't even think about.
Yeah.
Like Billy Slater.
I know. Just coaches as well, because it's not all about the grub. It's about who their biggest grubs, who do they coach, what made them grubs, and then we can obviously we'll go down that rabbit hole as well.
Yeah, mate, this is awesome. All right, well, I don't even know how we sign this off.
Yeah.
But, thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to the Art of Grubbery, and we'll hopefully talk to you soon, and we'll see you at the next one.
Yeah, you bet. I can't wait.
Cheers, mate. Ta.